Hi, I'm Jonah, and we're here today to show you how to play the Spirit Flute. Spirit Flute is a really easy instrument to learn to play, and the reason being is because it's based on a pentatonic scale or a 5-note scale. This is a really old scale. All the tribal cultures of the world use this scale in their wind instruments. And the reason that it's so easy to play on is that it doesn't require any knowledge of music to play it. The people that were creating these flutes didn't have any written music. They were doing it from scratch. And so that when they were creating the notes, they were doing it by their ear. They were doing it by what sounded good to them. And so in that way, all the notes sound good together. And so you don't need to know anything about music to play this flute, and it always sounds good. So the first technique that you want to learn when playing this flute is that how to cover the holes. So covering the holes tends to be the most important thing in the beginning and often the most challenging. And the way that you want to do this is you don't want to use the tips of the fingers like this. You want to use the pads of the fingers. And the reason being is the pads of the fingers have a lot more surface area, so it's easier to catch the holes. So you want to use either hand on top. When you pick up the flute, one hand's going to come on top and the other is going to go to the bottom naturally. And so that's the hand you want to use. You can be the right hand on top or the left hand on top. Whatever hand's on top, you want to use the pointer finger and the index finger as the top two. Your ring finger sits in between, and then these 3 fingers cover these 3 holes. So once you get the holes covered, then we're going to blow into the flute. And it's a real soft, light breath, and there's a certain mouth position. You want to make sure that your lip covers the top half of the hole, and then your bottom lip just kind of sits on here. It's a lot like kissing the flute. You definitely pucker your lips. So we'll cover the top half with the top lip and the bottom half with the other lip. And it's a real light breath. Just keep all your fingers down and blow real lightly. Now the next step is to walk up and down the scale. And to do this, we're going to start from the bottom and we're going to walk our way up each consecutive note. And then we're going to pause at the top. So starting from the bottom, you want to go real slow and you just want to open each note and you want to listen to each note as you play it. And now we're going to go back down the scale. Now this tends to be a little more challenging in the beginning because you have to find each hole as you walk back down the flute with your finger. And as we're doing this, we're really creating muscle memory. And the way the finger eventually learns to find each hole is through our muscle memory. Our fingers seem to learn, the muscles seem to learn through repetition of where the hole is. So when you cover the hole, you want to be real definite when you move your finger down. You don't want to just slide down onto it. You want to just place your finger down. And if you miss the hole, you want to lift back up and then place the finger again. What people tend to do is they want to try and correct it. And that's not teaching the correct muscle memory. So what you want to do is lift back up and put it back down. And that way each time you're creating that muscle memory is renewed. It's, oh, there it is. That's how you do it. Another really beneficial way to do this is to play in a mirror. In a mirror you can see, because when you're playing you can't see the fingers. If you're looking down, it's kind of a strain. It's going to make your fingers do weird things anyway. So you want to play in a mirror where you can look out and you can see what's going on with your fingers. You can see if you've missed a hole. And the other thing that's really beneficial is playing with your eyes closed. So once you've played in the mirror, and you feel like you're catching the holes, then play with your eyes closed and you can really get into your fingers. You can kind of become the tips of your fingers and you can feel how that catches the holes. So as we're walking back down the flute, we'll just go one hole at a time, and you want to listen to each note because you'll hear it if it's not on. You'll hear that it sounds kind of off. Here that sounds a little off. That's because I've missed part of the hole. So I'm going to lift my finger back up. So you'll be able to hear each time, each note, and whether you've really hit that hole or not. And if you haven't, that's why you want to go real slow and listen to each note. Then you want to lift that finger back up and put it back down to teach that muscle memory. Now from there, once you've walked up and down the scale a few times, let's do that again. We'll walk up and down the scale, just all the way up and then all the way back down. And you want to, whenever you need a breath, you just pause and take a breath. The tendency is for people to really just push through. You find that oh, I need a breath, but I really want to get all the way down the scale. But it's better if you just pause and take a breath, because pausing and taking a breath is going to be a real big part of playing the flute. So the next thing is how to create your own song. How do you go from just walking up and down the scale to actually creating a musical feel? And the way this is done is it's really creative. You just feel it out. You just let your fingers kind of, let your mind go and let your fingers kind of walk up and down in different combinations. It's real random in the beginning. You'll hold some notes longer, you'll hold some notes shorter, and you'll start hearing different combinations of notes and how they go together. And these different combinations will eventually become your songs. So the best way to start this is by walking up and down with consecutive notes, meaning walking one finger at a time. And what that looks like is this, where I start from the bottom and maybe I walk up a couple notes, but each time I'm just moving one finger at a time. And maybe I go up and down on one, maybe I hold this a little longer, maybe I'll go back down, maybe up to the top, and then back down. So it's consecutive notes, so it'll sound something like this. It's going to sound like your own song. That's the point. We're playing from our heart. And that's why we're playing. There's no right or wrong with this. You really want to it's all about how you're feeling, and it's all about creativity. Now from there, once you kind of have a feeling of that, and the reason that it's consecutive notes is, again, it's teaching that muscle memory. It's teaching your fingers how to find those holes. It's teaching the coordination of finding the holes. So then you can start jumping notes. And what jumping notes is that you're opening more than one hole at a time or closing more than one hole at a time. And there's a basic rule of thumb with this. There's a basic, they're not really rules. What they are is they're guidelines. And the guidelines help us to create a musical sound in the beginning. But eventually these guidelines, you want to break them. You want to really go outside of the bounds so that you can start creating your own ideas and your own. You might find these guidelines were created by random acts of creativity. Someone was doing something and they tried something new and it sounded good, and so they started using it, and that's how these guidelines came about, and so we can start creating our own that way. So the basic guideline is, in the beginning, is any hole that you open everything below it, and you keep everything above it closed, or you close everything above it. And the way that looks is, if I'm here and I want to jump up to this note, these two are below it, so they need to open with it. So that it goes from here to there. Now, and if I want to close, let's say I want to go down to this note, this hole is above it, so it needs to close with it. So I'd go from here to here. And what that looks like while playing is this. And as I was just playing that, and I just made that up just then, as I was just playing that, I kind of liked this. And so in order to, when you hear something that you like, try and repeat it again. Try and remember how that you did that. And these little ditties that we come up with, those eventually all put together will become your songs. So it's good to try and remember, oh, I really like that, because that means it struck something. It was something that you created that you liked, so you want to recreate that. And it teaches you how to remember the different aspects of the combinations of notes that you like.